Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the biggest show in the world. You are listening to the Mad Hatter, Mr. Rob. It is 10:04 Eastern Standard Time, and we are rocking and rolling, and I got my boy, the evil genius, on the line, Mr. Dr. Dan. What's going on, Playboy?
Yo, I'm loving how that beat dropped like the books dropped their drawers last night, kid. Hey, we got a little lucky. We had the first adjusted line of the year that I played. That nasty FSU team at minus 13.5. Thank you to their defense for securing me that crazy victory. But hey, man, so many games on the board today. I've been trying to line them all up, checking the times, checking the channels they're on, and all this crazy stuff, and I'm ready to get at it.
Oh, absolutely, man. We got all of the top 25 that we're going to be going through, guys. We've got a lot on the ticket. Dan's got a lot of different junkie plays that he's going to get down with.
Oh, yeah.
We got Yale starting today, Dan.
Yale, baby. I'm loving it. These books don't know what they're doing.
Oh, I know, man. Very excited about the show today, guys. So big ups to everybody that's out there. Right now, guys, we are on Twitter. You can retweet our show. We would really appreciate it. And looking forward to making some money with the nation today. And Dan, we also got Mr. Chad Withrow calling in from the zone all the way in Tennessee. Looking forward to breaking down the SEC. That is his specialty, brother.
Oh, yeah. And this dude is legit. You can definitely stream his stuff if you're not in the Nashville area. You can definitely stream his stuff online. Dude really knows what he's talking about. Can't wait to break down the SEC. Maybe he'll be laughing at me by the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely, man. Hey, you know what? It is what it is. But just real quick before we jump right into it, Dan, your Metropolitans made me some money last night.
Yeah, you and me both, man. It was, definitely, look, for people who haven't watched Mats and they look at his lines, they're like impressive but unimpressive because he always has a high pitch count and leaves early in the games. But, he managed to get through 6. The Mets got big hits when they needed it, which is why this team is great. Everybody looked at that Marlins series, and I know Mets fans were biting their fingernails because we've blown big leads before. In 08, I think it was 7.5 game lead in 15. But, look, the Nationals are done. They're buried. The Mets' magic number, I believe, is 8 games. So what that means is the Mets either, between Mets wins and National losses, got to equal 8, and the Mets clinched the division.
Yeah, man.
It's like we're fighting for home field advantage against those nasty Dodgers.
I know. You're close to it, man. So congratulations so far. I don't want to congratulate you too early, but hey, it is what it is, man. So,
I think we're going to be there, kid.
I think so, brother. I think we're going to be in Citi Field. Myself and the evil genius going to be rocking and rolling and doing it from there. So, and maybe we'll do a surprise little show over there, Dan.
Oh, that would be something, man. I was thinking I gotta talk to some of my connections over at Citi Field. But, if we get enough interest from the nation, maybe we see about getting that Party City deck.
The SBTV Nation?
Game.
The SBTV Nation part? Yeah, that's going to cost a...
It'll cost an arm and a leg, but hey, I think we've been giving out enough winners lately that the nation's got our back.
All day long. And Zach Greinke got the job done for the Dodgers last night. I always know to fade Jeff Locke, player.
Oh, fade Jeff Locke, and obviously when you got Mr. Cy Young on the mound.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've heard some ridiculous stuff lately, though, where they're saying that Greinke would start a game 1 over Kershaw. That's insane, guys.
You think so, huh?
It's insane. Well, here's why. Greinke's a free agent, right?
Yep.
You just paid Clayton Kershaw $300 million.
Got it.
$300 million. Pitchers, look, even the most elite pitchers can be fickle creatures. And you got a guy who's the face of your franchise. Look, I know Greinke's having an unbelievable year. He's a great pitcher. But Kershaw's done it over the long haul. He's the guy you gave all that money to and all that time, and you don't do that to him.
Oh, absolutely not. Guys, listen, what we're doing right now is we are on Twitter, and what we're going to do is announce your name as you retweet our show, so make sure you do it. It's the tweet that says, retweet and listen now, the NCAAF party continues, because it does, man. So that's it, and our guest's going to be calling in about, I'd say about 17 minutes, so looking forward to getting him on and seeing what he's got to say. But, Dan,
Yeah.
Why don't we just jump right into it?
Yeah, and guys, real quick, I don't want to get into it. Obviously, it's a big college football card, but I do have my MLBs locked in for the day. So for those of you that are interested, and I'll throw these on Twitter later, I'm rolling the Mets at -120 with Syndergaard on the mound. The Athletics on the road against the Astros, but with Sonny Gray on the mound, it's a +120 play. And our favorite, I think this is a consensus, we got Boyd against Volquez, and the over's only 8.5, so we're rolling that.
Oh, so what's that, Kansas City?
Yeah. So Kansas City at Detroit, over is 8.5. I think Boyd will give up, 9 runs himself. And then the last MLB play of the day, and then we'll get right into it, is a little 2-team parlay. We got R.A. Dickey at home with the Jays, and then I'm going to ride him along with Cole Hamels and the Texas Rangers.
Wow, dude. How about that, guys? The evil genius is giving you the plays right out the gate today.
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate, man. Just
because,
not even,
man,
not
I'm
even...
excited for this first college football game that you think I'm so crazy about.
Oh, I know. We gotta definitely jump into that one and see what we got going on, man. But let me switch up the music and get right into the college football and see what we got going on. So, all right, man. Let me. All right, here we go, kid. Here we go. College football, guys. We are ready to rock. So,
by the way, Sermata, you're making me real hungry, even though it's only 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I know. I saw that, man.
Yeah. And hey, for those of you who don't know, I love to cook. I made 3 different steaks last night, and right after I get off the show, that's all I'm doing, man. I'm throwing them all back together with some eggs and start my day off right.
Nothing better than steak and eggs, Dan.
Oh, especially with like a nice beer at 11:30 in the morning.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're hungover. There's nothing better than that.
Baby.
There's nothing better than that, guys. All right, man. So let's do it. Top 25 college football. What we're going to do is we are going to skip over the SEC matchups because we're going to wait for Mr. Chad Withrow to come on and break that down with us. So looking forward to rocking and rolling from here. So, Dan, we got our home state team here, the Connecticut Huskies, coming into Mizzou.
Do we want to wait for our guy to talk about this? Since I know it's not a straight SEC matchup, but
you know what? I think you and I could talk about it. If he's got anything to touch on, then we can have the conversation.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. So Missouri -22.5 with an under/over of 41.5 points. And guys, just in case you are just tuning in right now, the Dream will be back on with us tomorrow to break down the NFL with John Fennelly, who is one of the big writers for the New York Giants, man.
Yeah, this guy is amazing, guys. If you just Google him, he writes his stuff's published on like Sports New York, SNY and all that. He's got some great stuff, so check him out. He'll be on tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, he's my guy.
Absolutely, man. So Missouri -22.5. Dan, I'm going to lean on you for a lot of this stuff, and we will go from there, and then I'll chime in with my opinions on these. So Connecticut's 2-0, and they're playing obviously how can I put this? Definitely a superior program in Missouri, but you're looking at these points and kind of licking your lips here. What do you got?
Well, for those of you guys who don't know, 4 Missouri football players, including their highly touted defensive tackle Terry Beckner, were injured in a car crash on campus Friday afternoon. I guess they're all going to be okay, but that's a big deal, guys.
Yes.
And I still think UConn covers the points here.
You do, huh?
For a couple different reasons. Obviously, you got the car crash, which that really shakes up a team, especially young kids. But I'm not relying just on that. Look, Missouri, I think, is slightly overrated. Yeah, they beat the hell out of Southeast Missouri State, 34-3. Okay. And then Arkansas State hung in there. Granted on the road, but it's Arkansas State. UConn has a much better defense. They run, a very traditional college offense. But I think they hang in there and they easily cover the point spread.
Well, your team total's got to be pretty low with Connecticut, considering that the under/over is. I'm looking at it. It opened at 45, all the way down to 41 in some places, Dan. So they're not expecting them. They're not expecting many points. They're expecting maybe like 2 touchdowns out of Connecticut max.
And a team total under could definitely make sense because. I think it's going to be that's what I'm pegging as a very low-scoring game.
Very low-scoring.
I think Missouri wins. But come on. Over 3 touchdowns is a little much.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, 22.5. It actually started at 23.5, Dan, and went all the way down to 22.5.
Yeah, see, the first day that I saw it, I actually saw it at 21.5. And then it jumped to 23.5, and now it's at 22.5. Not sure. I think, it's all related. I think UConn probably got a lot of play on them, after the car accident just happened on Friday night.
Yep.
We'll see what happens, but like I said, I really do like UConn in the points here.
All right, man. So the Evil Genius is on the points, Dan. I think, I got to be honest with you, I think you might be smoking a little something over there, but for me, I'm gonna stay away from it, man. But
that might be true, but
I wish you.
Maybe you're still on point.
Maybe I passed you the stuff that I was smoking when I said the Phillies would lose under 95 games.
It happens to the best of us. Maybe they'll finish the season 12-3.
Exactly. Right. So, all right. So, moving forward to the next game. So, the Evil Genius is on that game, and I am going to stay away from it. We don't have any weather really of note to report as far as bad weather is concerned. So, we're going to keep it moving to the next game. We got Nevada coming into Texas A&M. Nevada rocking a 1-1 record. Texas A&M is 2-0. Texas A&M minus 33.5 with an under/over of 65. It's 71 degrees and sunny out there, so we don't got nothing to worry about as far as weather. Dan, what's your take on the Texas A&M squad?
I actually really like A&M, especially early in the year. And the other thing too is, Nevada is changing time zones to play this game, and it's a noon game.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal. Yep. And, they're coming off getting, ripped by Arizona. They lost by 24. And remember, they did beat a team. They're 1-1, but that team was UC Davis. Okay? Now, they got to go on the road, so this game is either at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., their normal time.
Yep.
A&M at home, which... look, A&M's played their first two. They smoked Arizona State. They smoked Ball State. I think they pretty easily cover the spread here, honestly.
All right, man.
I'm on it at 34.5.
34.5. I got 33.5 on my board here, brother.
Yeah, it jumped. Guys, a lot of plays, you might see the spread a little different than when I actually post it. I put in plays during the week when I think things look good. I was worried about it jumping to 35.5. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but to get over 5 touchdowns versus under 5 touchdowns is a big deal.
Sure.
So, I just wanted to lock it in there. But, obviously at 33.5, it's cool too.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's get it.
Absolutely. There's another game on my radar that has a very similar line to that, which I'm sure if you looked at the board, you probably look at it and you're probably chuckling because you could probably figure out who I'm taking in that particular matchup. But we will keep it moving to the next one here and go from there, guys. So next game we have on the ticket here I'm looking at is the Tulsa team coming into the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma minus 30 points, under/over of 71. Dan, what you got here?
Yeah, I'm not taking this game, but I actually think Tulsa covers the spread.
You think so, huh?
But here's why I'm not taking it. Is Oklahoma obviously is a far, far, far superior team.
Yep.
But we saw them almost get beat at Tennessee. And they're very lucky they came out of that game with a win. And now you got Tulsa's a good team, guys. I mean, they're 2-0. That offense is really good. I know it's Florida Atlantic and New Mexico, but that's still on the road. They put up a 40 spot and a 44 spot at home against Florida Atlantic, or 47 spot. They're going to get beat, but I think they hang in there just because Oklahoma is going to be a little lackadaisical in the first half, I think.
Yep.
The question is Oklahoma can also turn on in the second half and put up a 30 spot in the second half, which is the only reason why I'm staying away. But I think they come out slow, and I kind of like Tulsa here, but I'm staying away.
All right, well, I can tell you that the line has moved in this game. It opened up at 34.5 all the way down to 30, and the total went from 66 up to 71. You want to talk about a line movement, damn. Wow.
Yeah, I think people have been slamming this over, obviously. And I just get a little concerned about over-unders when there's such a disparity in conference matchup. So I didn't touch it, but I get it why a lot of people did.
All right, that sounds good, man. I'm looking at this Oklahoma team. You know what? I haven't seen enough of them yet to really, get an idea and want to lay all them points versus the Tulsa.
Never liked it. There's just something about Oklahoma that I've never liked.
I know. The Tulsa Golden Hurricane. So we'll see what
ends up happening. I made a lot of money on Tulsa last year, too, so maybe I got a little soft spot.
You did. At 63 degrees and cloudy out there, nothing really, no precipitation in the forecast as far as I could see. You got Air Force at 12 o'clock Eastern coming into number 4, Michigan State Sparty after their big win versus Oregon, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, Sparty minus 24.5. Minus 24.5 with an under over a 54.5. 69 degrees. You're going to get some rain out there. What's your thoughts on Sparty, man?
I mean, I like Sparty a lot. Obviously, Connor Cook, I think, he's been really good. He's been really good. I mean, he's 35. He's 35 for 63, 450 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Thing is I'm not touching this game because of the weather. Air Force obviously is good on the ground.
Yep.
The line doesn't make sense to me. I figured Michigan State was going to be like a 31-point favorite. There's just something telling me to just stay away from this game, so that's what I'm going to do.
All right, sounds good, man.
Also, against the military schools, teams, classy teams, will take their foot off the gas.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. We talked about that a bunch of times last year. You know what I mean? So, that could be apparent, when they're up 28 points and just decide, hey, you know what? Let these guys run one in or something like that. You know what I mean? But
because, hey, look, if I was a coach, I didn't care if my team was number 1 in the country. There's no way that I would blow out, Army, Navy, or Air Force, like 55-0. I mean, look, I'd put in my third string, I'd start running guys, and a lot of coaches do that. It's just respectful.
I concur. So next one we have on the ticket is something that's definitely, something that you and I were having a conversation about. But let me add my caller in right now. Guys, you are listening to Mr. Chad Withrow all the way from Tennessee from the Zone. Big guest today. What is going on, my brother? How you doing?
Guys, I'm doing great. How are you this morning?
Oh, fantastic. Just trying to get the evil genius back on so we can rock and roll and go into this SEC stuff. So Chad, thank you very much for calling. And can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your resume and the whole package? Because you got a whole bunch of new people listening to you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm from Nashville originally and went to the University of Tennessee, and I've been working at 104.5 The Zone, which is one of the top 5 highest-rated sports stations in the country since 2004. I host a show called The Midday 180 on that station every day. I also host a show by myself called Prime Time from 6 to 7 every night and do a lot of work with high school football across the state of Tennessee. But I'm a huge college football fan, so that's pretty much the long and short of it right there.
Awesome. Well, you know what? A lot of people have been excited from the nation to get you on. So we're excited and ready to rock and roll.
Oh, yeah. You guys hear me loud and clear now?
Yeah, definitely, Dan. I can definitely hear you loud and clear. Thanks for getting back on the air here. All right, so.
Oh, I couldn't miss our guest, man. I'm excited for this myself.
All right, so, Chad, what we're going to do is, it's come to our understanding that you're a big SEC guy.
Correct.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into those games. Usually what we do is we go in order based on time, but I'd like to start right off with one of the big ones, probably one of the biggest ones of the day, and a tale of two sides of teams where one of these teams was a little shaky last week. And we're talking about the number 18 Auburn Tigers coming into the number 13 LSU Tigers. LSU -7 with an under-over of 48.5 points. Chad,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on number one, how Auburn performed last week, and number two, can they is the public correct in giving all these points to Auburn because of it?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because Auburn's almost a victim of the hype train with Jeremy Johnson coming into the season. He had just almost unrealistic expectations coming in for a guy, which you really seen him for a half of football last year against Arkansas. So they kind of bit him. He did not look good in the opener against Louisville. Certainly did not look good against an FCS opponent in Jacksonville State last week. The biggest question I have about this game is Auburn simply bad, or was that playing down to their opposition last week against Jacksonville State? I still think Auburn's defense very talented. I tend to think this is too many points to give Auburn in this game. I think they're going to bounce back this week. That this is the typical trap game where everyone now has made up their mind on Auburn after two bad performances, but they're still 2-0. I think Auburn bounces back today and plays really tight with LSU. LSU still some unknown there. Not unknown in style of play. You know, we know how Les Miles teams are going to play, and they're going to run it with big Leonard Fournette the entire day.
Yep.
But I feel like we're going to see a much better performance out of Auburn today.
All right, sounds good.
I couldn't agree more with you. I couldn't agree more, and I go back to when Appalachian State beat Michigan, in 07, and Michigan obviously, there were games that year where they looked like world beaters, and it took them a minute to find that identity. I think Auburn will do a good job of keeping the ball on the ground today, for once. And from what I heard is they were kind of shook last week. They have a lot of young kids. They're, like you said, the hype machine has been in full swing forever. And they thought they were going to lose to Jayville State. But I think they come out today prepped and ready to go. They might lose, but I think it'll be, by a field goal, one way or the other.
Well, if you would have looked at this game before the season, you probably would have said, just based on preseason rankings, Auburn would probably be a field goal favorite in this game.
Sure.
And it's amazing how 1 week changed everything. LSU goes to Starkville and beats Mississippi State. Auburn looks terrible in an overtime win against Jacksonville State. Now suddenly at the 7-point line, I think it's a classic overreaction. I really feel like Auburn's going to play much better. And guess what? If they get blown out today by LSU, then what everyone's thinking right now, they're right. Maybe Auburn just isn't nearly as good as we thought coming into the season.
Wow.
Right. And I think what also influences the line is obviously Les Miles' record in August and September. I mean, it's like 41-4.
Yeah, he's crazy.
So that's kind of crazy. But like I said, I do think LSU wins this game, but I think it's going to be a hard-fought game.
Yeah. And I can tell you right now, I had a lot of people breaking my balls last week because I did pick Auburn to be one of the 4 teams in the playoff, moving forward this year. And, after that performance last week when they dropped from 6 all the way down to 18, kind of made me look stupid a little bit. But, hey, they go into Death Valley and pull a victory here. I think I'm right back in this situation here. You know what I mean, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you have no confidence from those first 2 games. I think Louisville's a little better than we thought they were. But, if they come out and they have a good performance today, all is forgiven.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So let's jump right into the next SEC matchup here we're looking at. We're looking at South Carolina at number 7, Georgia. Georgia minus 17 points now with an under-over of 53. Chad, what's your thoughts on Georgia giving all these points to South Carolina? South Carolina has been pretty rough to watch this year.
Yeah, this is kind of the head and the heart with me because my head and my eyeballs when I watch South Carolina says they're just simply not good on offense. And now they're about to get even worse because Connor Mitch, their starting quarterback, is out for the season. Enter Perry Orth now, who's going to start for them. And they're much better on defense. They showed that against North Carolina in the first game, squeaking out a close win. And last year they were a disaster on defense. So defensively they're better, but offensively I just don't see how they can get much done. But my heart also says Steve Spurrier's played Georgia pretty well over the years. And this is a Georgia team that's set up for a lot of success this year, but they're not set up to blow people out because they've got a big question mark at quarterback in Lambert. And, they're a pro-style team that's going to run it with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel, and they're going to do very well doing that, but they're not set up to blow teams out. So while I think Georgia doesn't get a scare in this game, I feel like it's going to be a little bit closer than that 17-point line.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at that. I mean, Georgia, they did blow out Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks over there. But and then they played Vandy and only won by 17. And Vandy is billed as probably one of the lowest seeded teams in the SEC this year. So taking a look at this, I think you're going to be. I think the line is right on the money, Chad. I got to be honest with you. I think it's right. I think it's right there, and I wouldn't recommend betting this, guys. If you're going to do it, I mean, this is definitely a heated rivalry here. So, for me personally,
you can 10-point tease this though, and then you look good. I think either way.
So if you get it, so what are you saying, Dan? Get it down to like 7.
7 for Georgia, yeah. I mean, maybe even shop it and see if you could find somewhere where it's already at like 16.5.
Okay.
And get it obviously at 6.5. Or, I mean, or the other way, if it's 7.5 and you tease South Carolina up to, if it's 17.5 and you get them up to 27.5, because I agree, I think Georgia's a very good team, but they're a very methodical team. They're going to run the ball very, very well, but that eats up a lot of clock. And if you get that plus 27.5 or even 28, if you can get that, I think it's real good.
All right. Sounds good, man. Sounds good. You never know. Any given Saturday, any team could beat any team, guys. Just remember that. That's all.
Yeah, I like where the line's at. I would just be hesitant just simply because Georgia's not a team. They're going to beat a lot of people this year.
Yep.
But like you said last week, they're 21-point favorites against Vandy. They win by 17. I think you'll see a lot of games like that. They're not really going to be in any doubt of losing this game today, I feel like, but they could win by 14. For instance, the way their team is set up.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you're right there in Nashville. My cousin's actually at Vanderbilt as well, so kind of familiar with the area. But is the Vanderbilt defense better than the South Carolina defense? Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, not at all. I think they're very similar. That's the one area. It was a train wreck last year in year one under Derek Mason, offensively and defensively. I mean, they were at the bottom of the conference in both. He took over the defense in the offseason, and he's now head coach and defensive coordinator. So suddenly Vanderbilt looks much better defensively. Offensively, they're no better than they were a year ago. Johnny McCrary just does not look like an SEC quarterback. Doesn't really look like a quarterback. I mean, has a hard time completing passes. So it's going to be a struggle for Vandy offensively. They're much improved defensively. That's going to give them a shot to keep it close in some games, I feel like. Until they can find some semblance of an offense. They just haven't been able to do that yet. So, yeah, I think Vandy's improved simply because the defense is greatly improved. But they're still, you look out on their schedule, it's tough to find a win other than today against Austin Peay that's out there where you can really circle it and say, hey, Vandy should win this game. I'm looking at one win for sure this year. And they're going to have to do some work to get another one because schedule doesn't even get easier. Even out of conference, going to MTSU and going to Houston are there 2 games left out of conference. So it's not going to be easy.
Houston, I think, will give them a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, here's a stat for you. Vandy against MTSU, which here in the mid-states about 30 miles apart, right down the road in Murfreesboro, they're 0-3. Against MTSU head-to-head.
Wow.
So this is the first trip to Murfreesboro. First time they're actually going to MTSU. So not a great history there for Vanderbilt. And that's going to be a tough one as well, as MTSU is one of the better teams in Conference USA.
Wow. Hey, we're going to have to take a look at that. And, hey, maybe we were talking about picking on Vandy all year long, so we might have to continue to do that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I know everybody's just waiting for basketball season around there already.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're going to get into the big one right now. It is at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Got Ole Miss, number 15, coming into Alabama, the Tide. The Tide is -7 with an under-over of 53. Chad, definitely want to hear what your take is on Ole Miss because, they've been looking kind of impressive here, and I think this is going to be a really good game. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it has the makings of what could be a good game. It's just there's so many unknowns with Ole Miss. They put up 70-plus in their first 2 games, but they haven't played anyone.
Right.
And I mean anyone. I mean, they really have not been challenged at all yet, so it's so difficult to know how a team's going to respond. You know, Alabama, they had a cupcake last week, but they were able to beat Wisconsin in week 1, so we know a little bit more about the Crimson Tide. This is a difficult one for me to pick. Nick Saban, great in bounce-back games also. And, of course, they had the disappointing loss last year at Ole Miss where Katy Perry was going crazy on the sidelines during the game. Everything kind of lined up for Ole Miss in that one.
Yes.
I think Alabama rolls in this one simply because this is the first time Ole Miss is going to face a legitimate defense and a really good front seven for Alabama. I think Alabama's ready coming off last season. I like Alabama by 2 touchdowns at least in this game, to be honest, simply because I don't know as much about Ole Miss. We're going to find out a lot today, but I think Alabama bounces back.
Wow. So let me ask you something. So, I mean, because this is definitely one of the marquee games so far. So do you see Alabama, if you think Alabama's going to win by 2 touchdowns here, do you see them emerging in the SEC and getting into the playoffs again this year?
I think so. If you're going to point to any team in the SEC, it's definitely Alabama at this point. We talked about Auburn earlier. That's one you would throw in there early on. But we really don't know right now because they struggled so much with their quarterback play early this season. So I would knock Auburn down a notch. Maybe LSU. Still haven't seen enough from them yet. Maybe Georgia, who you look at the East, and they're going to have an easier go of it there. But I really think it's Alabama on top of everyone else. A disappointing week for the SEC last week also, which I think kind of leads, people are talking about this narrative of the SEC is down, they're not the best conference. They're still the best conference, but they are down a little bit also. I think everyone else is coming up a little bit.
Right.
And the SEC probably went down a notch as well. So the margin is much closer this year. But I also think it makes it so much more exciting simply because there's so much parity across the SEC now. I mean, you have no idea what's going to happen. For instance, the game you guys may be talking about today, Kentucky at Florida. Florida at Kentucky today. You look at games like that, and suddenly you kind of have this round robin of toss-up games across the conference. It's really going to make it for an exciting year. But if you're looking at the favorite right now or the team that can get to the playoffs, I think it's absolutely Alabama. I think they proved that tonight.
All right. Sounds good. Great information, Chad. We really appreciate your knowledge on the SEC for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you.
Any other SEC games that are tickling your fancy today that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I think Kentucky hosting Florida. The last time Kentucky, I'm 33 years old, guys. The last time Kentucky beat Florida, I was 4. It was 1986 was the year. So someone said the other day that the last time that Kentucky beat Florida, they were a year away from having Emmitt Smith on the team.
Wow.
Which is just crazy to think about what's transpired since then.
So are you saying that if Kentucky beats Florida, my Mets will win the World Series?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put money on the Cubs if you're from Chicago. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, of course, with you in the '86 Mets, obviously, that's going to be the redo right there. No, but it's amazing to look at how many people are picking Kentucky in this game, and it's one of those I'll believe it when I see it type things. I still think Florida's defense is really, really good. If they get Vernon Hargraves back today, Kentucky's going to be hard-pressed to score a lot of points. And I think Florida's just good enough on offense to win this game. But you see a lot of people picking the Wildcats. That would be obviously an enormous win for them. Yeah,
I'm taking a look at the line right now. Florida is actually opened at a 4.5 point favorite down to 3.5 with an under-over of 52 right now. So, and it looks like there is some money coming on Kentucky. As far as
I think it's because Florida struggled a little bit with East Carolina at home last week.
Yeah.
I think it's like a coin flip. Honestly, I think Kentucky does have a shot to win this game, but I agree. I'll believe it when I see it. Florida obviously has struggled a little bit, and then I don't know. Kentucky winning at South Carolina, I think it's still a good win, especially on the road. So, let's see what happens. I think it'll be a good game.
Absolutely.
Well, and keep in mind, Kentucky beat South Carolina last year also, and that was en route to a 5-1 start. They also lost a really close game down in the swamps, Florida. Yeah. So it's not like, they can't play with Florida. We know they can do that. But I'm just not willing to take the Kentucky bait just yet. They're off to a nice 2-0 start, beat
Sure.
UL Lafayette, and beat South Carolina. But we went through this last year. They get off to a 5-1 start, then they got into the difficult part of their schedule, and they end up losing the last 6 games of the season to go 5-7. So I want to see a little bit more. I'm going to start buying into the hype train if they can beat Florida tonight. Suddenly, they're off to a 2-0 start in the SEC, and they're a contender in the East. I mean, at that point, you win your first 2 games in the SEC East over 2 opponents you're going to be battling for that that division championship. You got to put Kentucky up there, but I'll believe it when I see it with them.
Unbelievable. Chad, can you tell me what happened to the Arkansas Razorbacks last week, please?
Yes, that is. I wish I could. Hopefully, Brett Bielema can figure out what exactly happened. Here's the crazy thing about Arkansas. Coming in, we thought we had some givens about how teams were going to play. And we think with Brett Bielema, you're going to have a big, nasty, talented offensive line, and you're going to run the ball. They got Alex Collins. They had Jonathan Williams, who's now out for the year with an injury at running back. And you thought, Arkansas is just going to pound people on the ground with kind of their pro-style running attack. They have not been able to run the ball this year. That's the most concerning part about it.
Right.
They could not run it on Toledo.
Right.
They struggled to run in the first game. You've got Brandon Allen, the quarterback, throwing for almost 400 yards a game. Which is completely different than what we thought we were going to see with the identity of this Arkansas Razorbacks team. So that's the one that really, I'm vexed about Arkansas so far this year. I'm not exactly sure what to expect moving forward. I think they bounced back today against Texas Tech. I think in the long run they're going to be fine, but clearly losing at home to Toledo, or I guess the game was played in Little Rock, that's
brutal.
That's a bad taste in your mouth to start the season. So they're going to have to figure some things out. And it starts with the ground game. This should be a team that their identity is running it. And they simply can't do it right now.
I know. And I'm looking at Texas Tech is a 11.5-point underdog right now. So Arkansas is minus 11.5 with an under-over of 70.5 points. Chad, I think I agree with you with Arkansas bouncing back today. I think they'll win the game. I don't know necessarily that they'll cover this 11.5. I think they got some question marks like you're talking about. So, possibly a money line situation, putting them with a couple of other teams just to win the respective games. Dan, what do you think of Arkansas, what Mr. Withrow is talking about?
I agree. I mean, I was as shocked as anybody. I don't know what to think about them. I wouldn't touch this game, even if it was with another man's wallet.
All right. All right. Yeah. Sounds good. Hey, Chad, the Tennessee Volunteers. Obviously, you know a little bit about them. What's your thoughts today?
Yeah, after last week, here's what's crazy about Tennessee, and we dealt with this on our show all week. It's kind of the overreaction of a close loss. I think Tennessee fans got so wrapped up in that Oklahoma game as this is the statement maker. This is where Tennessee announces its presence on a national stage. The checkered kneeling was in full effect. It was loud. People were fired up and ready for that game. Then they're up 17-0, and then they let it slip away.
Yeah, right.
They're up 17-3 in the fourth, and they give up 2 touchdowns and lose in double overtime. But here's the thing about Tennessee that I think, it's hard for Tennessee fans to admit right now because you can't really have perspective after a devastating loss like that. They're exactly kind of where we thought they were. I mean, honestly, if I told you guys this offseason Tennessee's going to lose in double overtime to Oklahoma, you would have said, okay, they've improved. They're still not quite there yet. And I think, unfortunately for Tennessee fans, that's exactly where they are. They lost to Oklahoma by 24 a year ago and were never competitive. And what happens a year later? They should have won at home, but they lose in double overtime. So nothing has changed for me on Tennessee's outlook this year. I think it's a team that could go 9-3 or 8-4. I think they're the second best team talent-wise in the SEC East. Now they get a cupcake today in Western Carolina. They should roll through them.
Yep.
The season starts next week for Tennessee. They go to the Swamp. They've not beaten Florida since 2004. That is a must-win for Tennessee if they want to be serious about competing with Georgia in the SECs. Because here's the roll of games Tennessee has after this week. They go to Florida. Yep. They've got Arkansas at home. They've got Georgia at home. Then they get a bye week. Then they go to Alabama.
Wow.
So those 4 games will really decide kind of the complexion of this season moving into to November. So, and that's where their schedule gets a little easier. They get South Carolina, Kentucky, Vandy on the back end of that schedule. But we're going to know a lot about Tennessee here in the coming weeks. You mentioned Arkansas also. How about these 3 games after this week? They've got Texas A&M, Tennessee, Alabama.
Wow.
In 3 straight weeks also. So we're going to know a lot more about those 2 teams.
Oh, this is where the cream rises to the top, that's for sure. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So, Chad, I mean, you definitely your information is stellar, I got to be honest with you. And I know that you're not just an SEC guy, so I do have a personal interest team that I need to discuss with you, and I'm sure you've been watching them. Can The Ohio State University repeat and be victorious in the playoffs?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and they're my favorite right now, to be honest with you. That's what's crazy about Ohio State. They won it all last year. I think they were a year ahead of schedule. Yeah. Honestly, this is the team, quite frankly, that I think everyone would point to and say they can win it all this season. So I think they're even better this year. So I think it's Ohio State is the favorite. You know, you want to look at conference superiority. The SEC is still the best. You look at the bottom half of that Big Ten, and it's terrible right now. Here's a classic example. Tennessee is the 6th or 7th best team in the SEC, maybe the 8th. They beat Bowling Green by 29 points. A good Bowling Green team, a good MAC team. Bowling Green then goes to Maryland, a kind of lower-level Big Ten team, and wins by 21. That tells you right there kind of what you need to know about the SEC and the Big Ten. But as far as best teams in the country, Ohio State, I think, heads and shoulders right now above everyone. I think they're a step ahead of Alabama even. They're certainly the favorite going into this season, especially after what they did to Alabama in the second half of that game a year ago.
Crazy.
So, no, I think Ohio State's the best team in the country, and Urban Meyer clearly is building a juggernaut there in Columbus.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you got the coaching. You've got all 3 – I'm going to say 3 quarterbacks. I know that Braxton Miller is now an H-back and all that, but when you look at Cardale Jones, and then what's scary about this team, and I keep saying this over and over again, and I'm glad to have you on so I could talk to you about this, but, you know, when they're up 30 points and Cardale Jones sits, then you got J.T. Barrett coming in, you know, that's trying to play superstar as well.
Well, like everybody also forgets about Ezekiel Elliott. Like, yeah, they're so good. Like, you just forget about them.
Oh, and on defense, Joey Bosa, and they've got great receivers. I mean, they have some of the best receivers in the country. But, you know, everything you need to know about Ohio State and the amount of talent they have and how good of a job Urban Meyer does in cultivating talent is illustrated by Braxton Miller.
Sure.
I mean, that guy is a Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year type quarterback. And then they get 2 better quarterbacks, and he's coming back from injury. The guy moves out to receiver, and he's great there. And the first catch he makes of his career is a shoestrings grab across the middle against Virginia Tech. And I'm thinking, it's an embarrassment of riches right now at Ohio State that you've got a guy that's that good of an athlete that can immediately go out to receiver and start catching passes and look that good doing it. Ohio State is definitely, they're the defending national champion. They've shown nothing to prove that they're not the best team in the country. They are the best team in the country until proven otherwise.
Awesome. So looking at this game here, The Ohio State University has given 35 points to Northern Illinois, the Huskies. And I don't think Ohio State has lost a MAC game in, I can't even remember how long. It goes before my life, I would assume. Dan, do you have that information or no?
The last time Ohio State's lost a MAC game? I think it's. I can't remember.
Has it ever happened?
I think it was like. I think my kid was telling me it was like in the in the early 1900s or something stupid like that. But craziness, man. So, all right, guys, listen. You are listening to Mr. Chad Withrow right now, all the way from Tennessee. Huge guest, Chad. You have been absolutely outstanding. And can we listen to? Obviously, we can. But can you tell our audience where to find you on social media and how to listen to your show and just tell us a little bit about your show and what you do and the whole package as far as moving forward this week?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at WithrowZone. I'm on every weekday, 12 to 3 p.m. and 6 to 7 p.m. You can stream live at 1045 The Zone, 1045thezone.com. We also have an app. It's just 104-5 The Zone. You can listen on your phone. I'm on with Paul Kuharski, who is with ESPN.com, covers the Titans for ESPN. Jonathan Hutton, who does a terrific job with us also and does some sideline reporting with the Titans and does some TV work with a local station as well. Those are my co-hosts for Midday. I'm on by myself from 6 to 7 every night, and we just we kind of want our show to be organic at all times. We plan things out, but we kind of veer off the path and talk about a lot of different things that come up throughout the show. And it's very SEC heavy. It's very Titans heavy, obviously, being in Nashville. But if you're into those sort of things, then I think we're the show for you. So definitely tune in. And again, you can follow me on Twitter at WithRowZone.
All right, sounds good. Well,
awesome.
Thank you so much for calling in and helping us break down these games.
Absolutely, guys. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man. Have a great weekend.
All right, see ya.
All right.
By the way, Hatter, your kid was right, but it's I guess the last team that Ohio State lost to in the state of Ohio was Oberlin in 1921. They lost 7-6.
My kid watches all this stuff, man. He is like obsessed with college football.
Telling you, man, if being an athlete doesn't work out later, you definitely be be a sportscaster.
Yeah, I got to time out though because he did say that Arkansas was going to be halfway decent this year, and Arkansas did lose to Toledo. So
hey, we all make mistakes. I thought Seattle and the Nasties were going to the World Series. Hell,
I gotta throw him under the bus for that just a touch. You know what I mean?
I love it. You throwing your own kid under the bus. Oh,
all
God.
right. So Dan, we got we're already 50 minutes past the hour. Taking a look at this, let's break down the Northwestern at the Dukies. The Dukies minus 4 points with an under-over of 49. You feeling the Dukies today, huh?
Yeah, man. This Northwestern team, I think, is very, very much overrated. I mean, and Duke has an offense, like Duke's had an offense for the last few years. Look, Northwestern has a good defense, but I'm just not getting this at all. Yeah. I mean, Northwestern has won 2 football games. Yeah. I understand the Stanford win, but I don't think Stanford's very good at all. Gotcha. And, they put up a 16 spot. Okay. And then Eastern Illinois last week, big deal. Yeah. I know high school teams that would beat Eastern Illinois. And now you're going on the road to Duke. I got to tell you, man, I locked this in already at -3 for Duke. I think Duke smokes Northwestern today.
You think so?
I think, yeah. I mean, Duke's defense is improved, but Northwestern's offense isn't that good. The only way Northwestern wins is if they put up at least 30 points.
Dan, you're making me turn. You're catching my attention with this game. You're definitely catching my attention because I've been like watching the Dukies like plow through people, and last year I rode them, all the way till the end when they started losing, then we pulled off them.
Yeah,
and it's killing me that I didn't bet them the first 2 games of the season. I want to do it with you. I want to go Dukies. I'll get back to you guys in the nation and let you know what my feeling is. But hey, maybe we go a Duke Yale parlay.
I love it. And I love how every single analyst except for like one major guy is really fading Duke. And I mean, and all these guys that are talking are like, Duke hasn't really played anybody. What are they talking about? I mean, Northwestern played Eastern Illinois. I mean, and if you're going to play nobody, I mean, Duke really, at Tulane, obviously a very easy game. They won it 37-7, and they beat NCC 55-0. Northwestern is not some great powerhouse team here, guys.
I think it's going to be a close game, but I think we'll be okay, and I think we'll get the job done here. So I think I'm going to jump in there with you, Dan. It might be a light little play.
I think Duke by 7-10.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Next game we have on the ticket is Georgia State coming in at number 12, Oregon. Tough loss for Oregon last week.
Yeah, hey, but it's all good.
But they're giving 43.5 to Georgia State here with an under-over of 72.
I'm starting to think that people still think that, Mariota is under the helm for Oregon. I mean, their defense is still absolutely atrocious.
It is. I agree with you.
And they don't have a good quarterback. I mean, not a good quarterback. They don't have.
I don't want to say that he's bad.
No. He's not bad. That's not what I'm saying. But I just look at these lines and I look at this stuff, and obviously Georgia State should get absolutely murdered today. I mean, they should, but Mariota was a special quarterback. I mean, you know, one of the all-time college greats. If you look at his numbers, and you know, I know a lot of people want to attribute it to the offense that they run, but you know, you saw it last week in the NFL. The dude is legit. Look, I just can't take this at 40+ points.
I got you. All right, man. So we'll keep it moving to the next one and go from there. So, you know, going back to the Ohio State University guys, you know what? Call me a sucker, but I'm going to go for it again. I'm going to get it down to 34 points, and I'm going to take the Ohio State University to cover the spread versus the Northern Illini Huskies.
I do kind of like it myself.
You like it?
I do kind of like it.
I think Urban Meyer's pissed the way they performed versus the Rainbow Warriors last week.
I think so.
You know what I mean? So, all right. So, we'll keep it moving to the next one here. We've got Troy at number 24, Wisconsin. Wisconsin minus 35, under over of 58.5 points. You know, eventually they're going to get these are more warm-up games for these guys. I haven't seen enough Wisconsin to make a decision on this particular matchup yet, Dan. The weather out there is 55 degrees and partly cloudy. What do you got there?
Nothing, man. I mean, I don't like this Wisconsin team. You know, I think they should obviously bludgeon Troy. But, I don't love this team enough to risk 35 points on them. I mean, you know, they were big, you know, North Carolina State. Troy lost to them, but they still put up 3 touchdowns. And then remember, I know it's Charleston Southern. They suck, but, you know, they did put up a 44 spot. So their offense is decent. I mean, Wisconsin will probably put up 70 points. But this could, you know, I just got to stay away. I don't like Wisconsin either.
All right, sounds good. The next game we have on a ticket, Dan. Let me just take a look and pull it right up. Texas San Antonio coming into number 25, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State minus 27 with an under-over of 56. You know what? Oklahoma State 2-0, man. Looking all right this year. Getting their thing done. You know, it's starting to climb up the ladder a touch after last year. What's your take on Oak Tree State?
I mean, they looked okay, but I mean, you got to look at who they played. They had, you know, an 11-point win at Central Michigan, and they beat Central Arkansas 32-8 last week. So, I actually like UTSA on the spread here. I'm not going to take it, but I do not think Oklahoma State covers this spread. I mean, Texas San Antonio, remember, they hung in there at Arizona. That was only a 10-point loss. I know they got blown out by Kansas State last week, 30-3. But I don't know, man. I something about this game, I'm just staying away.
All right, sounds good, guys, because we got a game that's tickling my fancy. I got to be completely honest with you. Number 14, Georgia Tech coming into number 8, Notre Dame. And you're going to see a little debate here. Dan, I am going against you, and I am taking Georgia Tech on a money line. I'm not going to lay the 2.5 points. I think that triple option is going to wear out Notre Dame personally. But you seem to think otherwise.
No, if there's anybody that you got to take, even with a backup quarterback against a triple option, that is Notre Dame. Look, they after smoking Texas in week 1, and then obviously the close call at Virginia, you lose your starting quarterback. You know, you had a kid that came in there. I know he wasn't that accurate, and, you know, there were some issues at the quarterback position, but, you know, Virginia was really getting after him. And, you know, obviously when your starting quarterback goes down, that shakes your team up. So they still managed to win. I have Notre Dame with the 3 points. They're at home. I think that the quarterback will be fine. You know, they'll run the ball a lot. I think Notre Dame gets it done. I mean, look, they play the best triple option in the country every year in Navy.
Yeah.
They know how to stop that. It's where that is where Georgia Tech's playbook basically comes from. I mean, Granted, they have more athletic players, but Notre Dame's not going to be caught off guard.
No, and their backup looked pretty good as well. So
yeah, I mean, he won the game. That's all that matters.
He did win the game. That's all that matters. You're right, but I don't know. I just think Georgia Tech's going to win the ACC this year. I really do. I think they could beat the likes of Florida State and Clemson. I honestly do. Man.
I mean, look, Florida State didn't look great last night. I mean, we were lucky on that game. I mean, but their defense is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I not only do I, like the +3, I think Notre Dame wins this game today.
All right, Dan. Well, hey, there's a reason why Georgia Tech is favored. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Hey, best of luck to you, man.
Best of luck. All right, man. Sounds good. So, next game we have on the ticket here, Dan. Let me pull it up. We have SMU at number 3, TCU ski. TCU minus 37, under over 66.5, 78 degrees and partly cloudy out in Fort Worth, Texas. What are your thoughts on TCU minus 37? You think they bludgeon them? I think so.
I'm actually on this at 37.5.
Okay.
Look, SMU. They got smoked, by 35 to Baylor. I think TCU is a better team than Baylor.
You think so, huh?
Oh yeah, I do. And look, they beat North Texas. They beat North Texas. Good. That for them, that's a solid win. But man, I mean, this TCU team is on another level.
Of course.
Completely. And they're at home. I mean, I just look at what they did to Stephen F. Austin.
Yep.
I mean, a 63-point win, put up a 70 spot. I see a repeat performance.
All right, sounds good, man. Sounds good. So, I'm looking at that. I may get involved with TCU. I think SMU is definitely definitely in trouble. That's for sure. So we will keep it moving to the next one here. Let me see what else we got. We got number 19 BYU coming into number 10 UCLA. UCLA minus 16.5. Under over of 59. UCLA, the real deal or what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're loving that.
That quarterback, man. Like I said, I was saying this to my wife earlier this week, and I don't know if you ever feel this way, Hatter. I feel like I say something on this show on a Saturday or a Sunday, then all of a sudden, I'm listening to ESPN or the radio, and some dude said exactly what I said.
Yep, right.
And what did I say? I said, everybody called me crazy when I was comparing, Rosen to Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. But if you look at everything, right, there hasn't been a highly touted quarterback like that has been scouted by, people since, like 8th grade. The kid is, if you want to call someone the natural, it's a dude like this, okay? His first home game, he put up 34 points. Went on the road. Look, I understand it's a bad UNLV team. First road game, 37 points. BYU's in trouble today. BYU's getting smoke showed. I got UCLA minus 16, sorry. And I think that'll be a pretty easy cover. And that's also, by the way, a national game on at 10:30 tonight for all you junkies out there that'll be up watching it. Fox Sports 1.
Just be careful. Please don't be chasing. You know what I mean? If you lose, just grind it back. Don't be doubling down because you don't want to pay the man and blah, 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 blah. There's plenty of games going on, and there's NFL
Remember, NFL tomorrow, baby.
There's NFL tomorrow. We're going to be rocking and rolling with John Fennelly tomorrow, Dan.
I'm so excited.
I know. You've been reading his stuff, man. He's got some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, guys, I'm not trying to BS anybody. I always tell it like it is. I've been reading John Fennelly's stuff well before I knew he was going to be a guest this week. I just found out he was going to be a guest a few days ago. I obviously read a ton of local blogs. I'm a huge Giants fan. What this dude says is completely on point. Read some of his articles. Just Google it, and you'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. So the next game we have on a ticket, Dan, is something I am very interested in. I am all over the USC Trojans today. Bringing in Stanford into town. USC minus 9.5, under over a 50. I've got them in a money line parlay. I'm adding them, or I already added them with Clayton Kershaw last night. And I'm going to close it out with some NFL, which I will announce tomorrow. But taking a look at number 6, USC, I think this team is the real deal. Dream and I went on Houston radio last night and said that we both think that this team is going to make the top 4 in the playoffs. You think UCLA is a little bit better than them, though. I don't know about that, but Go ahead.
Not right now. But remember, they don't play UCLA. That's the last game of the season.
That's going to be a hell of a game.
And
but
it's going to be a hell of a game. I think that when you have a true freshman quarterback who's starting off the season nice, and he's just going to continue to grow. At that point, he's not going to be a freshman anymore, you know?
Right.
I mean, he's going to have a full season under his belt. We'll see what happens. Look, I think USC is a very good team, but I actually see them catching 2 losses this year.
Really?
Today is not one of them.
Today's not one of them, right?
Today is not one of them at all. I think they blow out this Stanford team. The only reason I'm not putting money on this is because for some reason I always feel like I get bit in the USC Stanford games, and I don't want to hijack anybody's money. Stanford has like the 110th worst offense in the league.
Really?
Yeah, I just saw the stat actually just popped up on ESPN. USC scored 47 points in the last 3 years versus Stanford. Look, I just think that USC is the far superior team, and they're gonna punch them.
All right, sounds good, man. Moving on to the next game here, we got number 21 Utah coming into Fresno State. Utah minus 14 with an under/over of 53 points. Dan, you're all over this Utes team, huh? You feeling them?
I love the Utes, man. I love the Utes.
I like the way they play defense. I really like the way they play defense.
They play some very good defense, and a lot of people, thought it was hilarious when I had them week 1 over Michigan. And then obviously they didn't cover last week. But it's Utah State. That game's always close, and that was my bad. I know they're going on the road, but there's no time change. They're going at Fresno State. Means Fresno State. I was surprised that it was only 14. Look, I'm all over the Utes here. I just think that they could shut Fresno State out. I mean, you're talking about a Fresno State team also that, remember, they're coming off getting smoke showed by Ole Miss. They just gave up 73 points to Ole Miss. Yep. Abilene Christian hung in there with them for a little bit. They ended up beating them 34-13. Big deal. Utah is gonna kill these guys today. 14 points is hilarious.
That's hilarious, huh?
Hilarious.
Wow. Dan, you're saying some pretty convincing stuff today, man.
I just got to go with what I feel. I'm really, the way that my mind works, it's like with MLBs, and I've been doing this for a long time with MLBs, I just like, things like ping me, it's like I look at things and they just like start flashing, like bright green. And most of those times, those things are right. And look, this is a Fresno State team that is not good at all. Not good at all. And their defense is terrible. And when you have a terrible defense, look, the Utah offense isn't world beating, but they'll score some points, and their defense is very, very good.
Got you.
And you look at this Utah schedule. Look, I think a lot of people might worry that they're going to overlook this Fresno State team. It's a slight concern because they're at Oregon the next week. But I think you're good here, guys. I think you're good at 14 points.
All right, sounds good. Just real quick, buddy of mine here, all the way in Vegas, Sin City Maverick is feeling the over 66.5 with SMU and TCU. Kind of like that, too.
TCU might cover that themselves.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
saying.
I
don't want to go with a TCU team total over.
Yes, sir.
It's got to be, it's probably, 55? 50?
If I had to guess, yeah, you're probably somewhere along those lines of a, somewhere in the 50s as far as the team total is concerned with TCU today. So, looking at this, guys, listen, we're having an absolute blast. 7 days a week, man. All gambling, just rocking and rolling, breaking down all these games, telling you who we're betting. Listen, as we said before, we are not handicappers. We're just telling you who we're playing. Feel free to tail fade, do whatever the hell you want to do, but good luck to you and rock and roll and get that money. So we're looking at, let's see, number 20, Arizona, is hosting Northern Arizona today, who is 2-0 coming into town. 72 and sunny. We don't really have much to worry about as far as weather later on. Looking
inside, right?
Is it inside?
I believe it's inside.
All right,
yeah,
perfect. So, taking a look at this here, what do you think of this Arizona team, Dan?
They pass the ball really well.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, They're kind of an anomaly to me. I like them. You know, I don't think they have a shot to win the pack. But you know, they can make a run. They can make a run, and you know, Northern Arizona. I don't know. You're talking about an Arizona team that only beat Texas San Antonio by 10. And look, I know they beat Nevada on the road in Nevada, and it was 24 points. I almost like Northern Arizona today.
Really?
With the points, obviously.
Well, you haven't seen them play though. You know what I mean?
No, I haven't. But I'm looking at Arizona specifically, and you have teams hanging in there with them.
Yep.
I understand that Northern Arizona should get absolutely murdered, but I don't know, man. You thought that same thing about Texas San Antonio?
All right, my boy. I was gonna just refer to my boy over here, AZ Wildcat 83, who's out there. This is the power of the SBTV Nation, guys. We got people all over the world, and my boy is telling me that it is outside today. All right, cool deal, man. Looking at this game, I'd like to ask him what his thoughts are because he's obviously seen these two teams play multiple times. So, AZ, if you got any kind of information on this, let me know what time it is with this particular matchup. It says Arizona will roll today. That's what he's saying. So, I don't know. Dan.
I expect them, I expect Arizona to win by a lot, but something about,
why would you want to get involved in that, Dan?
I don't want to get involved.
Why don't you just put more money on the over with Boyd pitching today?
I think I'm already maxed out on that. I don't know if Sportsbook will take any more on that.
All right. Sounds good, guys. All right, so
you don't need to follow my lead on that.
All right, so looking at this here, we are gonna obviously, because we are Connecticut boys, we got to discuss the Yale Bulldogs. And the Yale Bulldogs are playing Colgate. At Colgate, they are given 5 points to Colgate today. And, they did beat Colgate by 13 points last year. I have not seen Yale yet. I haven't seen them yet. I'm going to go to their first home game, which is actually Dan, I got a while to go before the first home game here.
Yeah, I think, I think you have one next week. But then that's the only home game they have for till Halloween.
Wow. All right. So next week I'm definitely going to go to the game. I may even get there early and bring the equipment and do the show right from the tailgate.
That'd be sick.
You know what? I just got to get a generator. Well, if I can get a generator, I can make that happen. But, yeah, guys, listen, it's an electric atmosphere in Yale, okay? I mean, not so much during the opening games, but when Yale-Harvard plays, it's like a couple 100,000 people flock to there. And not all of them go to the game either. A lot of people are mostly outside partying. So, I'll make sure I don't get kicked out this time. That's all. So, but taking a look at this, what do you think, Dan? Should we just talk to me about what you were talking about? You got to take Yale. Okay.
Yeah, I think the books are off here. Look, Yale is returning a quarterback.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. He's been in the same system his whole collegiate career. Very smart kid, obviously. I know they lost, a couple receivers, but I think when you have a good quarterback that's consistent, that'll make up for it a lot. And I just don't think Colgate is a very good team this year. Again, Yale should be pretty easy to cover here in the 5 points.
I'm going to do money line.
Do it.
I'm going to go with a special Hatter parlay. I'm going to go light, guys. Listen, you know what? This is more of a gambling than methodically playing, sophisticated playing. I'm going to do a Yale Duke Hatter parlay, money line parlay, just for the hell of it. You know what I mean? A couple bucks or whatever. You know what I'm saying? My big play is obviously USC and Georgia Tech and all that, but I think that's what I'm going to do, Dan.
Yo, I got one question before we finish out the show. I just saw this prop bet, right? It's ESPN College Game Day. Who will Lee Corso pick? Put on the team mascot prop, right? Which helmet will he put on? And Ole Miss is plus 600. So if Lee Corso sees this right now and says, hey, honey, put $1 million that I'm going to put on the Ole Miss helmet.
Really?
I'm saying, Lee Corso, you could be making money, man.
Yeah, of course, definitely, man, definitely. All right, so Dan, that's pretty much going to do it as far as the top 25s and some of the junkie plays. But why don't we go down the list of everything that you're playing? Guys, as you know, Dr. Dan is a junkie and loves to bet a bunch of different games. So
yes,
why don't we have the conversation on who you are taking today? He's not telling you guys to bet these plays. This is just what he's doing.
This is what I am taking.
So you know what? Hey, if you wanna, fade all his plays, go for it. You want to tell him do whatever the hell you want. But he does not take responsibility for what you do, and neither does the biggest show in the world.
No, I only take responsibility for my own bankroll. But,
yes.
So before I get into all the money lines, we are going to roll this very special 10-point teaser with the Illini plus 18, La Tech plus 20, and the Dukies plus 6. All right, here are the money line plays, guys, and I will release them on Twitter. Remember, it might have to come as like 4 or 5 different tweets because there's a lot of them.
I love it.
All right, so we got Auburn plus 7, UCLA minus 16, UConn plus 21.5, Notre Dame plus 3, the Illini plus 9.5, Minnesota minus 25, La Tech plus 10, Texas A&M minus 34.5, Duke minus 3, TCU minus 37.5, Temple minus 10.5, Utah minus 14. That's what we're rolling with. We closed out our teaser on FSU and Arizona State last night. Hit that. So we've had a good start to the week for college football. The MLBs again, guys. Royals over 8.5, Mets minus 120, and Athletics plus 120.
All right, guys. So that's great, Dan. I'm going to look into the MLB board real quick, but as far as my college football,
Rangers parlay as well.
All right. What did you say? Twins Rangers?
Blue Jays
Rangers. Okay. The Rangers, man. I was heartbroken that they lost last night, man. I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, it was a little weird, but you got to figure they were going to have a letdown, which is why I didn't take them.
They had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 8th and couldn't do anything.
4 games to take over first place,
Yeah.
These things happen, guys. This type of year when you see stuff like that, I almost wanted to fade the Rangers yesterday, but they've been so hot that it was hard to do that. But I think they come out today. I think it's Vidal Nuno on the mound. They destroy him.
All right, guys. So what I'm looking at today is I am looking at The Ohio State University to bounce back and actually cover a spread. So I think they're going to cover it. I'm going to get it down to 34 points. I'm buying a point down to 34. So I'm going to take them over Northern Illinois. I think Northern Illinois is barely going to score any points here. So I'm going to do that, and I think Urban Meyer's been all up on them, especially the way they struggled a little bit. I don't want to say struggled. I mean, they did score 14. They were up 14 nothing. 14.
I mean, we both expected them to beat Hawaii 72-0.
Yeah,
so
right.
I feel like we're looking at it as a struggle, but no, man, I hear you. I like the play, and I might end up playing it right alongside there with you. I think they definitely get it done today.
All right, so I'm looking at that. I am looking at Georgia Tech on a money line to beat Notre Dame. This is their big test. I don't want to go crazy on this just because it's a road team in collegiate sports. I tend to not go crazy with road teams. If they were home, I would go a little crazier on it, Dan. But you know what? I mean, if you look at it, if you give it like a 6-point swing here, if they were home, they would be minus 8.5. So they're definitely telling you to put. The odds makers know that Georgia Tech, they're thinking that they are the superior team to Notre Dame, especially with Notre Dame's backup in. You bring up a lot of good points with that game, Dan. But I'm gonna roll Georgia Tech. I am gonna do my very, 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 very light play. Did I say very enough? With the Dukies and Yale. I think I'm going to do that. So, guys, you know what? Your book may not even carry Yale because they're probably a little shook because of what we did with Yale last year.
We killed them last year.
we crushed Yale like 6-7 weeks in a row. It was like boom, 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 boom. They couldn't lose, man. So I'm going to do that with Colgate. Hey, if it loses, guys, you know what? Hey, it is what it is. I mean, it's more of a gamble, like I said. And I'm taking the USC Trojans. I think the USC Trojans, I think they can cover the spread. But for me, I'm going to add them into a moneyline parlay. I've already got one going on with Zach Greinke, and I will unveil the third leg of it tomorrow with the NFL.
You know what you might want to look at, kid? I hate, you know, I don't want to tell you your business, but if you get 7 points on a teaser, I might roll this. UCLA USC 7-point teaser play.
Not bad. That's not bad either.
-9 and what's the USC line right now?
9.5. So you get it down to 2.5.
2.5 and 9.5. I like that.
Really, that does sound pretty appetizing.
Yeah.
But all right, man.
I guess when you got 15 plays, sometimes you gotta call it.
Yeah, Dan. Yes. Yeah. How much juice do you sip in that 20 plays or whatever you got going on? I mean, you're taking some underdogs though.
Oh, I got dogs galore. Remember, I play spreads, so you know it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my MLB plays today are basically an even money play. We got the Mets at -120 and the Athletics at +120. So,
yep.
You know, look, guys, anybody who knows me, I love playing dogs.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
let doggies bark all day.
Right. I'm looking at this game. I'm not going to bet it, but this Sonny Gray versus Scotty Kazmir, man. Scotty Kazmir versus his old team. Houston -145. If you can get Oakland with Sonny Gray at +125, it's probably not such a bad look. But I know you're on it. I'm going to kind of fall back from that.
Texas, I hear you. One thing I think you should also look at is my dog of the day, if I had to pick one, is the Illini.
The Illini, huh?
Yeah, the Illini. I know they're at North Carolina. You know, if you want to get it up to 10 or even 10.5, you should feel real good about that. I mean, UNC, remember, they lost at South Carolina. They haven't looked great. I mean, they beat the hell out of North Carolina A&T. Big deal. But the Illini is my definite dog of the day.
All right, my boy Gilbert Arizola is feeling Ja Tech with me. So I think we're going to get involved with that one and go from there. But as far as the baseball ticket, Dan, because there's so much going on in football, you know, what's really cool is that we can actually get a couple of heavy favorites in baseball and add them. So I'm looking at, dude, I love the Texas Rangers with Cole Hamels.
Yeah, I mean, I love adding baseball and football.
Dude, I love it, man. It's so dope. I mean, you could get, you know, because when you look at like a minus, normally there's no value in baseball with like a -200, -250, you know, whatever. But when you could add some football games to it, it changes the entire equation. So I'm looking at that one, and I think I'm going to get involved with this Kansas City-Detroit over with Matt Boyd on the mound with Volquez. I'm going to get it down to 8, though, instead of 8.5.
All right.
Because I'm going to parlay that with some stuff. So that's what I'm looking at.
Definitely makes sense.
Absolutely, man. And those are the only games that I'm feeling today, dude. So
I hear you.
And you got Clayton Kershaw as well for the LA Dodgers. That might be something to take a peek at as well. So
yeah, I mean, if you want the best multi-sport parlay of the day, is I think you actually take the Dukies and the Texas Rangers. +135.
Why don't we go Yale and the Texas Rangers today?
Hey, yeah, I mean you could do that, but like you said before, so
yeah. Got it. All right, guys. So that is going to do it for our show. Dan, this is an exciting time of the year, man. When you got like all this baseball, all this college football, all the pro football, all these multi-sport parlays and the whole package, guys, it's got to get your juices flowing, man. That's why you're listening to the show. We are loving it, man. So what you got to do to close out of here, Dan? Dan, are you there or no? Nope.
I'm here, kid.
All right. So what you got to do to close out of here?
Hey, I just want to say I love the whole nation. I'm going to be posting all my plays to Twitter. I think Vegas is trying to get me off Skype. They're shutting down my internet, so I can't be giving you guys good knowledge. Talk to you guys again tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Guys, we are the SBTV Nation. We are the biggest show in the world, having an absolute blast 7 days a week. We are back on tomorrow, 10 a.m. live in the morning. Myself, the evil genius, the Dream will be back, and John Fennelly, writer for SNY, the New York Giants beat writer. He's going to be breaking down that particular game and whatever other games he feels that he wants to get involved in, because I know he's definitely got to be a football fan and probably watching some of these other games as well, Dan.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Dude's really smart. Really smart.
All right, cool. Guys, we love you to death. Go out there. Go easy. Do your own homework. Bet your own plays. Make all your dreams a reality and get that money. Let's go.
Peace.